Not again, yes again, another vile act of anti-Semitism in Toronto.
He picked up a pylon and then threw it at me, and I kept my distance and I evaded it.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in North Toronto. And folks, I have literally returned to the scene of the crime, and the victim of that crime is the gentleman standing next to me. That would be Joseph Bitton. He is a realtor and a lawyer. And Joseph, take us back to the afternoon of Tuesday, June 30th. You are minding your own business. You're paying a visit to this property to see a tenant. And then you had the misfortune of coming across an individual by the name of Abdul Qadir Al-Jilani. He's 58 years old. What happened?
I had a 12 o'clock appointment here to meet a client at this commercial property. I arrived at about 12:01, 12:02, and I got a message that she was running a little late. So I had to speak to a couple of the other tenants. There was this fellow standing against the wall. He saw me with my kippah and started accosting me verbally.
And what was the nature of those of the verbal harassment, Joseph?
He said, you guys are killing babies. You guys are committing genocide. I'm from Yemen. I'm a Houthi, and I'm going to kill you.
He actually said that.
Said that numerous times.
Okay, then.
I'm going to kill you numerous times. I ignored him.
Okay.
I ignored him and continued down this path to the tenant at 1724. I thought, he's going to leave.
Yes.
I'll go inside and talk to the tenant there, and by the time I'm out, he'll be gone. That's what I was hoping. And after I came out, he continued with, baby killers. I'm from Yemen. I'm going to kill you. He picked up a pylon.
Yes.
A 4-foot high pylon, and then threw it at me, and I kept my distance and I evaded it. At that point, one of the tenants in 1726 came out and tried to intervene and calm things down and help me. Then I told him, look, if you don't leave, I'm going to call 911. He picked up a brick and threw the brick at my head.
Oh my goodness.
I was able to block it with my arm, and I got
I see the scar.
some injuries.
Yes.
Then he picked up 2 metal brackets and started swinging those at me. By that time, I was already on 911. I called the dispatch and I told her I'm being attacked because I'm visibly Jewish. Mm-hmm. And she said, okay, where are you? I told her 1728 Jane Street. And she said, we've got officers en route. Then when he saw that I was on with 911, he tried to flee. He went south on Jane to the corner of Lawrence and Jane. There was a bus stopped there. He got on the bus. I told the bus driver that I was on with 911 dispatch and that the police were on their way if he would mind just not moving or going anywhere. I also took the number down of the bus and gave it to dispatch. When he saw the bus wasn't moving, he got out the back door and then crossed Jane Street. There's a auto repair shop down there right at the corner. And they have these big signs that are held down by cinder blocks. You know the ones I'm talking
Yes.
about? He grabbed one of those cinder blocks and tried to throw it at me, but it was too heavy. And at that point, the owner of the business came out when he saw him and started yelling at him to leave his blocks and get off his property, etc., etc. Then he went to the corner of Jane and Lawrence. There was a bus at the bus stop there that was traveling westbound. And he got on the bus. I also told the bus driver that I was still on with dispatch. I told the bus driver to please not go anywhere, that the cops are on their way. And I gave the dispatcher the bus number. He got out the back door, went down the alleyway behind the auto repair shop. He picked up numerous rocks and started throwing them at me. And then I blocked a few, I evaded a few, and then he picked up this large 6 or 7, or 8 foot branch that had fallen off a tree and started swinging it at me. And he did hit me with it. At that point, dispatch said that the officers were at 1728 but couldn't find me. I told her, yeah, because we're across the street in the alleyway behind the auto repair shop, and they left their cruisers in the intersection, 4 cruisers, and the officers came running and surrounded him and cuffed him and put him in their cruiser.
Joseph, there's so much to unpack from that story. First of all, is the brazen attitude of this individual. There are surveillance cameras all around this property. It's broad daylight. There are eyewitnesses. You have told him, I'm on the phone with the police, and he is still rummaging around for anything he can weaponize and hurt you, presumably because, well, let's face it, you're visibly Jewish with the kippah. You've never met this individual before.
Never.
Is he so consumed with hate, or is there something else here? Was he inebriated? Is he mentally ill? What's your take on it?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. All I can tell you is that his first remarks were, we are baby killers, we're committing a genocide. He told me he's from Yemen, he's a Houthi, and he's going to kill me. And he repeated that at least 3 or 4 times.
One of the views I have too on this, as we've seen for more than 2.5 years now, going back to October 7th, 2023, the single biggest massacre of Jews in one day post-Holocaust, we see in the streets of my once beloved city, mobs chanting genocide, displaying swastikas, cosplaying as the terrorist Sinwar. And they get away with it. The cops do nothing. That's not quite true. Sometimes on cold days, the cops will deliver them Timbits and coffee so they don't go without nourishment. My theory, and I want to get your opinion, is the mob so emboldened that even they can't believe what they're getting away with, and they continue to push the envelope?
I agree. Unfortunately, although I was very impressed with the police response on the day, they responded quickly. However, over the last 2.5 years, I have not been very impressed with the politicians, with the mayor Chow chanting "Free Palestine."
In terms of Olivia Chow making that statement at the Pride Parade. And I thought that was perversely ironic, Joseph, because try being an open member of the LGBT community in Gaza. You're going to find out the hard way. There's not a big appreciation of that kind of diversity. But in the bigger picture, what I think we've seen happen these past 2.5+ years, it is a scathing indictment of the failure of official state multiculturalism. We go back to Pierre Trudeau. He enshrined it officially in the early 70s. And I think, Joseph, the unspoken agreement was come to Canada, pursue the Canadian dream from wherever you hail, take advantage of our social welfare programs, be it welfare, unemployment insurance, subsidized housing, free health care. But the quid pro quo is leave your hatred back in your home country. Don't import, your hostilities, your feuds. And as I've said in the last almost 3 years, that isn't the case in this city and in so many others in the West.
Yep, I agree. I agree. If you want to come to this country, they should be very well vetted, the applicants. They should have something to contribute to our society and not just take. They should have a trade, a profession, something that they're going to contribute, and not just anybody full of hate.
And Joseph, I want to talk too about the double standard in terms of the media. You told me off camera, with the exception of us, the National Post has reached out, and I'm happy to hear that. But this was absolutely an example of vile hatred against you, just for you being Jewish. And I go back to several years ago. Remember the Hajib hoax? You had everybody, a who's who of the political elite showing up. You had wall-to-wall media coverage. It was about a girl who claimed her hijab had been cut by somebody with a pair of scissors. Turned out to be an absolute fabrication. But yet you look at that media and political overkill for something that was a hoax compared to something real that happened to you. How do you make sense of it?
I don't know. I don't have any words to express how I feel about the political leadership in this country, federal as well as municipal, and provincial. I don't have words, and I don't understand it. I think it's probably down to numbers and votes. The Jewish community is much smaller than other communities that are getting more attention, and I think that's the reason.
You know what, Joseph? I can't argue that point. You're right. The Muslim population in Canada is 5 times that of the Jewish population. And I'm by no means suggesting that all Muslims subscribe to this kind of hatred and violence.
No.
But I think the politicians, to their shame, have done the electoral math and are saying, hey, listen, nothing personal. It's just business, baby. The numbers are on their side.
It's just the math.
Yeah.
It's the vote, and that's all it is. Or, in some cases, I believe there are some politicians that are actually anti-Semitic based on their comments, their actions.
And I never thought I would say that living in Toronto. Jew hatred has become normalized, and you experience that. We're going to follow through in the courts what happens to this vile individual who harassed and brutalized you, Joseph. One last question. Sadly, I've come across those in the Jewish community that tell me, when I'm out in public, if I'm using public transit, I hide my Jewishness, so to speak. So I'm not wearing a kippah. I'm not displaying a Star of David. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm happy you asked that question, because after this incident, my wife told me, from now on, I want you to wear a baseball cap when you go out in public. And I said to her, I absolutely will not.
Okay.
I will not hide my Jewishness. I will not hide my faith. And as a matter of fact, when I met the detective on this case, I told him what my wife said, and I asked him, what would you do? And he said, absolutely not. You continue to show and be proud of your faith. This is a multicultural city and country, and you're entitled to be Jewish and wear it as proudly as you always have.
I'm very happy to hear that. And, Joseph, thank God nothing more serious happened to you. I personally feel, and we'll never know, it's a hypothetical point of view, had this individual, given how hateful he was, had he had something more lethal than rocks and metal poles, if he had a knife, if he had, God forbid, a gun, I don't know, maybe we're not having this discussion today.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what, folks, for more than 2.5 years, we have seen people in this country chanting for genocide, displaying swastikas, cosplaying as terrorists. And some of those people, they're not even Canadian citizens. They're temporary foreign workers or international students. If that's the case, enough is enough. They got to get to Pearson Airport and get the hell out of Canada. And if you feel like we do, please go to deporthamas.com. That's deporthamas.com. Their hatred is not what Canada is about.